and thanks for joining our mental health special. I'm Kenesha Dees. 1 in 5 Americans is struggling with a mental disorder. Unfortunately, there is a stigma surrounding mental health and illness. Our Nixon Norman spoke with a local licensed professional about that stigma and what comes from it.
In recent years, talk of mental health and illness is far more common than it was in the past. But there are still many misconceptions about the topic and still a lot of stigma surrounding it. So let's start with the basics.
There is a big difference between mental health and mental illness.
Mental health in general is talked about all the time. From people posting real-life experiences with mental health online to celebrities and public figures talking openly about their mental health. In today's world, the term mental health is usually pretty well received and understood.
Mental health is just, your overall health of your mind, your body, all the things that connect so that you can, function properly in your everyday functioning.
But change that phrase to mental illness instead of mental health. People's ears may perk up.
Mental illness is something that you're actually diagnosed with. That could be schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, depressive disorder. And so those things require you to get a little bit more help.
The word illness being attached can lead people to feel guarded or more cautious around someone they may know with a diagnosis. But remember, diagnosis or not, we're all human.
I think people tie in the fact of physical illness, they tie it in with mental illness. And so automatically something's wrong. Like something's wrong with your mind, or that word crazy comes up and automatically you have to get put on medication when that's actually not the case.
There's also a lot of stigma around treatment, especially when it comes to taking medication.
A lot of people also don't know that it is your choice whether or not you will or you won't take the medication. So it's always great to ask questions. I think some people may be afraid to just ask.
There's a particular idea around medication used to treat mental illness, that it may cause you to lose your sparkle or personality, that you may become zombie-like. But in reality, sometimes it just takes a couple of tries to get the right formula going.
Medication has side effects, and so one medication doesn't work for the same person. So a lot of psychiatrists, they like to help you regulate, they like to help you get the right medication for yourself. And so that's not always the truth that you will be a zombie. Everybody just responds differently to medication.
Talk therapy also has a lot of stigma around it. Many people may view talking to a therapist as weak, as if you're not strong enough to handle your issues on your own.
It's actually one of the strongest things that you can do is to talk to somebody and talk therapy.
The journey to treating mental illness can be long and hard. But remember, one of the hardest steps to take is that first step. Once you've got that behind you, the journey really begins.
Take the first step. Taking that first step is important. Just making the phone call to even schedule the appointment is big.
And for those facing a mental health emergency, the access to resources can be key in recovery. But with the lack of mental health care professionals, many wait for months to see a specialist. Our Ken McCoy spoke with one resident as she shares her story.
So the best advice I got as a journalist was, in order to be effective in sharing somebody else's story, you must be willing to share your own. And truth be told is that I suffer from anxiety. And in those moments, it could feel like the worst. But luckily, I come from an area that pointed me out to great resources, and I've been better able to manage my flare-ups. But that's not the story for everyone.
There was a week that happened where I just had the worst anxiety I ever had, could not go to work because of it. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a psychiatrist either at that point. So I was having terrible anxiety. I wasn't sleeping or eating for a week, essentially, because I just couldn't. I couldn't focus. So mine was racing kind of thing with anxiety. I went to a hospital because I had a lot of anxiety and I wasn't able to really sleep or eat for a couple of days, and I'd never dealt with this much anxiety. So
her first experience wasn't that pleasant.
I went to the hospital in hopes that maybe they could give me something to calm down and whatnot, because where else was I gonna go? And obviously, when dealing with mental illness, you are grouped in the same waiting room, obviously, as everyone else is. So, someone that's got a physical ailment might be more likely to be seen first than someone with a mental illness, because it's not something that you can really grasp with tests or anything. It's something that you're dealing with. I was there for about 5 hours, and they kind of just kept going back and forth. I was never seen by like a psychiatrist or a therapist or a mental health professional within my first night.
And that wait is due to the lack of mental health care workers.
There are not enough mental health care workers in this town. There's a mental health care shortage all across the country.
Karen Peterson of Wellstone knows the struggle many are facing receiving care.
So there are a lot of wait times across town in general for the mental health care and substance abuse space. So that could be frustrating, but things are getting better.
And local therapist Maretta Vega knows the wait can be frustrating.
Right now, there is a high demand for a life coach, social worker, and a therapist, a psychiatrist as well. And so you may run into some hiccups when you're looking for one, but continue to try because it's important.
Both Peterson and Vega want those that are waiting to receive care and not lose hope.
The thing about it is, if you're placed on a cancellation list, if there is a cancellation, which may be same day though, they will call you and let you know. And if you are available for that time frame, you can go on that day. So there's a couple of ways for you to still get on a schedule, but don't give up. You just want to keep trying.
It's just important to know that you are not alone. Help is available. And at Wellstone, we just want to give you hope because recovery is possible, and you just can't lose that glimmer of hope. And if you start to lose it, just know that there are people around you who will shine a light for you.
For Fox 54, I'm Ken McCoy.
Thank you, Ken. And two of the most common diagnoses are anxiety disorders and depression. Fox 54's Nixon Norman dives deeper into anxiety and depression, what makes them alike and what sets them apart. Let's take a look.
Anxiety and depression are two of the most common mental illnesses here in the United States. While they share many of the same qualities, they're also extremely different from each other.
Anxiety and depression are very high on the list of, what we as therapists have been seeing lately.
The APA defines depression, or major depressive disorder, as a common and serious medical illness that negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act.
You can have suicidal thoughts. You can lose your appetite. You can eat a whole lot. It can cause a lot of stress. It'll put you in the state of having irrational thoughts. I'm not good enough. My family doesn't love me.
The APA also says that anxiety disorders differ from normal feelings of nervousness or anxiousness. Anxiety disorders are among the most common of mental disorders and affect nearly 30% of adults at some point in their life.
You get into a place where, of course, again, irrational thoughts come into play, and you kind of don't know how to settle yourself. And so you kind of think that everybody may be against you, or you really don't know how to do things. And so anxiety puts you in that place of overthinking as well.
While depression involves more changes in mood and anxiety comes with more overthinking, the two often run into each other, meaning someone with depression may also battle with anxiety or vice versa.
So let's say, for instance, somebody is very, very depressed about what's going on in their life. And so they start to overthink. They start to self-harm, and then they start to have suicidal ideations. They start to isolate themselves from one another because they're so anxious about what it is that's going on.
Whether you're diagnosed or not, if you're experiencing feelings of depression or anxiety, reaching out to a professional could be the next best step.
Find you a professional to talk to, someone outside of your family. We serve as a non-biased entity, and that's why we do what we do.
As always, for more information, visit fox54.com.
Did you know that what you eat can play a major role in what you think? We're talking about the impact food has on our mental health. Our Jasmine Bird tells us more.
You can't overcook it if you want to make sure that you keep the health benefits of the foods.
Renee Wiggum says her journey to living a healthy lifestyle has been just that, a true journey.
This is me, about 2000, 2001, after a few years after having a child. I've had back issues since 2004. And that was one of the things that the doctor told me. He says, you might lose, 20 or 30 pounds.
In the fall of 2021, Wiggum took him up on that by focusing more on foods that benefit her body versus foods that just pleased her. And as a result,
Feeling better physically, helped me to feel better mentally.
Oakwood University Nutrition and Dietetics Department Chair and Professor Dr. Shireen Brown Frazier says when it comes to the real impact that food has on our mental health, here's one thing you should know.
Whatever we consume on our plates and our fork actually translates to the chemical structure and metabolism in our brain.
Dr. Brown Frazier says food is amazing and does a lot of things that are often underestimated.
But in the context of mental health, I want to just paint a picture. Mental health affects about 20% of Americans. 10 years ago, it wasn't quite so high. So we've seen, this is according to the CDC, we've seen an increase in mental health.
And there are many variables that play a role in that. However,
whatever we eat obviously becomes our energy and actually eventually contributes to the nutrients that our bodies need. And all organs are affected, including our brain.
And our brain is sometimes the often forgotten about organ.
But it is a very soft, almost a curd tofu-ish type of feeling organ. It's 80, almost 70% water, but it actually is close to 60% fat. And why am I mentioning this? We often tend to run away from fats, but good fats are fantastic for the brain.
So whatever we consume has an impact on our neurotransmitters. And neurotransmitters is a fancy term for
the chemical messengers within our brains. What we eat has an impact on inflammation and how that can also adversely or positively impact our brain. So food plays a role in creating the nutrients that transmit through the blood that actually feeds the brain and helps the brain to either function optimally or not so optimally.
Wiggum believes as we age, we all have a desire to feel better, and that's why she also started motivating others on her personal Facebook page.
I just try to motivate people to just start somewhere. Don't necessarily do what I do. These are just suggestions that it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be hard.
Overall, Dr. Brown Frazier says the most important thing is listening to your body after you eat.
Making sure that there are more bright colored live foods on your plate. What will happen is when you add, subtraction actually happens. And you will see huge benefits in your mood, in your emotions, as well as I would even dare say mental health, because again, food is fuel.
In Huntsville, Jasmine Bird, FOX54 News.
Check this out. Here's a look at Alabama A&M University Event Center, all lit up in green. University officials say the school is part of more than 100 buildings across the nation lighting up green for Mental Health in May. What a show of support. Well, there are many resources in the community to help those who may be struggling. Our Sedona Meadows takes us to a local yoga studio working to relax the body and mind.
Throughout our lives, we may feel stressed, anxious, or depressed. And that's why it's so important for one yoga facilitator here in Huntsville to help people calm both their body and their mind. When you watch a yoga class in the movies or whatever, you're thinking, oh, well, strength and flexibility. Like, yes, strength and flexibility. But for me, the biggest benefit has been in dealing with anxiety and depression.
Kat Phillips, the owner and facilitator at Millcat Healing Arts, shares that yoga can have great benefits for our mental health, lowering blood pressure, decreasing stress, and overall relaxing the mind.
Whether you practice in a more gentle way, right, that's going to downregulate the nervous system. That's going to take you out of our stress, everyday fight and flight mode and bring us down into our rest and digest and relax mode.
There are several different yoga practices, with many considered moving meditations.
Tuning into that nervous system, for most people, pretty easy. You just have to slow down and bring a little bit of attention to the present moment. I like to do that through the breath. It's like hitting a reset button. So a lot of people who are new to it are surprised how relaxing it is and how accessible it can be. Because a lot of people are very intimidated. They feel like they're not flexible enough or they're not strong enough. And I try to build my classes so that people can access yoga.
Phillips says you don't have to be flexible to practice yoga. There is something for everyone.
So looking for something that is chair assisted, if you have, difficulty getting up and off up and down off of the floor, or looking for, yoga for retirees.
And whether you're looking to start your yoga journey online or in a class, Philip says to just try it.
I work at a rehab center with a lot of people who have never done yoga, and a lot of people who, when they walk in the door, they're like, it's not for me. I'm not going to enjoy this. And then about 10 minutes into it, they're like, oh, it's kind of nice. So try it.
In Huntsville, Sedona Meadows, FOX54 News.
Research shows that people who exercise regularly have better mental health and emotional well-being and lower rates of mental illness. Today, our Jasmine Bird is giving us a deeper dive into the true impact of exercise and movement on our mental health.
What inspired my nature walks is fellowship.
Meet Jalen Houston. Houston says his Nature Walks movement is creating a safe place for individuals.
Creating a safe place where you're using great discernment on, okay, hey, I can open up to this person, right? Because it all boils down to mental health.
Huntsville Psychotherapy and Counseling Services certified personal trainer and trauma-informed weight trainer Sarah Gwynn says when it comes to the impact that exercise has on our mental health, it's not just about exercise.
But if we can just get moving, then we're able to process better. We're able to problem solve better. So, when we're sitting a lot or we're in a traffic jam and we're just stuck there, the one thing we'll just say is we're just stuck here. And the moment we start moving, we're like, oh, thank God we're moving, right?
It's the same with exercise.
If we can just get out, we can get moving, we're immediately able, that we have chemicals in our brain, dopamine, serotonin, all of those things start to work and function properly. And so with that, we're able to think clearer, have a healthier lifestyle, be happier, be able to problem solve. And so exercise is, I think, one of the most important things we can do for our mental health.
Houston says after attending his first hike in 2019, he was pondering really hard on life after college.
So I knew that I had to create my own thing, right? I wanted to have ownership of what it is that I wanted to do. So it came about when I created a brand. And the brand, again, is True Roots. It's an outdoor brand that grants individuals peace of mind, right? So with this brand, I knew that, okay, every weekend when we go on a hike, I want individuals to be able to be open, all right? Open up about whatever it is. Along with that, you're getting a good workout, right? So when you put that all together, this is what we have.
Ryan Kegler says he joined the True Roots movement in 2020 when everyone was stuck at home during the pandemic.
And so we came with this idea, hey, let's try to get out the house somewhere that's safe, and we gotta be safe from COVID. And how about let's go out in nature and walk? And so that's how it started, and it really just turned into a weekly thing where we're able to just really just express our thoughts and what's going on, kind of detox from the real world, just kind of get out in nature and God's creation.
Khalil Norman says these walks impact him personally because it allows time for true self-reflection.
And then also just not do you necessarily need a group, but you need at least a couple of people, one or two people that you can really confide in, somebody that you can trust with things that's going on with you personally in your life. And that because the whole reason you're coming out here is to be away from the noise.
All in all, Houston says they want any and everyone to be a part of the True Roots movement because
health is the new wealth.
And Gwen says when we go outside,
immediately our emotions and our state, our nervous system feels regulation. So anytime you can add movement outside, hiking, exercising,
inside or outside,
in that kind of capacity is always, for me, a benefit.
In Huntsville, Jasmine Bird, FOX54 News.
Yeah, that exercise, very important. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Thanks for watching. We hope this special adds more meaning about the importance of mental health. Remember, you can always find us on fox54.com and the Fox 54 app. Be well and good night.